Hello guys, today we're going to go over the Stamina Warden build that I was using in my previous two videos demonstrating it in BGs. This is a really fun build to play. It's got very high burst damage and it's not really using the cookie cutter meta sets for stamina at the moment. It's my slightly different take on burst damage, and I've been having quite a lot of success with this. It's a dual wield on the front bar, sword and shield on the back bar build. Stamina Warden is one of the few classes I think that I can get away with not running a two-hander, because you've got your major brutality buff with your Betty niche. Anyway, first things first, let's get into the sets. So on the front bar we are using a one-piece New Moon Acolyte Nirnhoned Mace, which gives us our 5-piece bonus for the New Moon set. And the second set that we're using on the front bar is the Armor of Truth set. Now, this used to be a very popular dueling set. They changed the 5-piece a couple of patches ago. So now what it does is when you deal damage to an enemy who is off balance, your weapon damage is increased by 460 for 10 seconds. Now, just to go over the off-balance proc, so there are numerous ways to set people off balance. The most common way done in CP PvP is using the Tactician passive, which I'll cover in a bit. But you'll see when we go into the skills why this works so well. When an enemy is set off balance, the off-balance status lasts for 7 seconds, and then once the enemy is recovered from that, there's a 15-second period where they can no longer be set off balance. So it's 7 out of 22 seconds is that window there. The thing with the Armor of Truth set though is this constantly refreshes whenever you're dealing damage to an enemy while they are off balance. So you can deal damage to them at the beginning of the 7-second window and right at the end of the 7-second window as well, which means that in truth you're actually getting a 17-second window where your weapon damage is increased by 460, and this weapon damage buff persists when you swap bars and go into your back bar as well. So this is actually a very powerful set. I feel like it's maybe being overlooked slightly in the meta at the moment in favor of things like Fury or things like that. With this, it's a very easy proc to set up, and it's not reliant on you getting beat up on for a while before getting your max weapon damage like Fury is. So it plays quite well with the Warden's very bursty hit and run playstyle. We then using New Moon on the body alongside one piece of Truth on the body, and then golden jewelry of Truth as well, all infused, 2 with weapon damage, 1 with stamina recovery, all in pen. We're running 5 medium, 2 heavy. This is sturdy, that should probably be in pen, but that's fine. The monster set that we're running is Balorg. So Balorg again plays into the strengths of the Stamina Warden, which is very high AoE burst. This gives us a huge weapon damage boost when we use our ultimate, including on the ultimate itself as well. And so it's a very powerful burst damage set that goes alongside the other 2 that we're running. Everyone's familiar with New Moon by now. You've got a ridiculous amounts of stats here. You've got your weapon crit, more weapon damage, some penetration, and a huge 481 weapon spell damage on the 5-piece at the cost of increasing your ability costs a bit, making sustain a bit tricky, but that's fine. We managed fine with that. Truth has got some nice 2, 3, 4-piece bonuses as well. Fairly solid, well-rounded set. Now on the back bar, you probably guessed we are running potentates or potatoes. This is a very, very powerful 2-piece that reduces our damage taken from players by 5% while we're in the back bar. This is a mace. It doesn't need to be a mace. It can be any one-handed weapon, preferably with the defending trait, and then you want an in-pen shield as well. In terms of the front bar, the main hand weapon should be Nirnhoned, and then your offhand weapon can be sharpened. Nirnhoned contributes a lot to the total weapon damage that your right hand weapon gives you when you're dual wielding, so it's very important to have this be Nirnhoned here. On the back bar we're running poisons. On the front bar we've got 1 weapon damage enchant and 1 disease damage enchant there. Moving on to our skills. On our front bar we are running Whirling Blades as an execute, Bird of Prey for the passive minor berserk, the passive 2% weapon damage you get, 2% damage done you get from having an animal companion ability slotted. So this is in total contributing 10% extra damage done just by having it on our bar. And it's also a nice burst of speed as well. Major Expedition for 6 seconds lets us catch up with opponents very, very easily. Now, Cut and Dive, this was changed a couple of patches ago as well. It's a ranged spammable ability. It's got a nice tooltip there unbuffed. If you cast this while you're 7 meters away from the target or more, this procs the off-balance status for 7 seconds. And as we were talking about, off-balance is very, very powerful. If the enemy is already off balance, it then does an additional dot as well. We've got Resolving Vigor for our sort of heal over time, and then Subterranean Assault. This is part of our essential burst damage combination. Ultimate, we're using Dawnbreaker Smiting, again playing into the powerful AoE burst damage capabilities of this build. Moving on to the back bar, we've got Healing Thicket as our defensive ulti. This is very handy to provide a sort of safe area for you to recover your resources in if need be. Another option obviously is Permafrost. If you're playing in a larger group, this is a very nice ulti giving major protection to you and your allies for an extended period of time, as well as applying the chilled status to enemies, which also hits them with minor maim. Very, very strong. Bullnetch is our major brutality buff, important to keep this up at all times. It also gives you back some resources as well, and just passively, just by having it active, it purges debuffs from you over time. So you get a total of 6 debuffs purged over the course of the Bullnetch's duration. So again, it's very, very powerful, and it's free. It doesn't cost you any resources to cast this. For a sort of burst heal on the back bar, we've got Soothing Spores. What I tend to do is, if I'm getting burst down in the middle of the fight, I cast Vigor. If my health's still going down, what I can then do is go into the back bar, cast a Soothing Spores, go into the front bar again, do a rally, and just repeat as necessary. It also heals people in front of you as well. You can keep your allies up with this. Shuffle gives us the all-important Major Evasion, which reduces our damage from AoEs. This is very important. This protects against things like enemy permafrosts, dragon leaps, dawnbreakers, everything. You know, it's very, very powerful. Need to keep Shuffle up. It also lets us keep up our mobility by removing snares and immobilizations. Since we're wearing 5 pieces of medium armor, this gives us a 5-second snare and immobilization immunity. Very, very strong. Ice Fortress is our defensive buff. It gives us our major resolve, increasing our physical and spell resistance for 24 seconds, and this particular morph also gives us minor protection, which again is very powerful. Now this is a bit of a flex spot on your back bar. I like to run Shimmering Shield. There's a lot of snipe spammers out there at the moment, so this helps keep you up when you're fighting in a sort of open field situation. It also lets you cycle through your ultimates much quicker. The major heroism is very, very strong. Another option is to use Green Lotus here. Green Lotus is also very powerful. This is a critical damage buff, but it also causes all of your light and heavy attacks to heal either yourself or an ally. This is in particular very powerful because it pairs well with one of the Green Balance passives, Accelerated Growth. When you heal yourself or an ally under 40% health with the Green Balance ability, you get Major Mending for 3 seconds. So what you can do is, if you get low, you've got your Green Lotus active, you can just light attack and then go into your Soothing Spores for a big boosted burst heal. But at the moment I'm finding I get a lot of value from Shimmering Shield at the moment. Let's find a mob to quickly demonstrate our max weapon damage with this build. I should probably tell you, in terms of food, I am running the Artame Takeaway Broth. In terms of potions, I like to use Tri-Stat potions. These are generally very, very effective. Keep some detect potions on yourself as well. Race, we are a Nord. So at the moment, just with our net up, we are getting 4.8k weapon damage in the front bar, our basic burst combination, that, and now if you look at our weapon damage here, we're sitting on 5.7k with the Armor of Truth buff. So just there I was demonstrating how our burst combo sort of goes off. You can have a look in my other videos to see what I'm doing with this. But essentially what you want to be doing is you do a sub-assault from range, and then as you approach the target you want to do a cutting dive, which sets them off balance. Come in with a dual wield heavy attack, which will stun the enemy while they're off balance, and it also does an extra 70% damage because of the off balance status. That'll stun them, and then while they're on the ground, if they're at low health from that combo, you can do your Whirling Blades spin to win to execute them. The other option is to do a Dawnbreaker and then go into your Whirling Blades. Let me see if I can find another mob for us to kill quickly. Just demonstrating on this wolf again. And all of your damage hits at once, which is very, very nice. Going into our champion points, these are important. Looking at the green tree, we've got 56 points in Warlord, 9 Sprinter, 1 Siphoner, 64 Mooncalf, 19 Arcanist, 37 Tenacity. This gives us 120 points for the Windrunning passive. This keeps us very mobile on the battlefield. 56 into Tumbling, 28 into Shadow Ward. Blue tree, nothing in here. We've got 81 Master at Arms, 39 Physical Weapon Expert. This gives us, again, 120 points to get the Tactician passive. This is very important as well. It's another way that we can set enemies off balance. 56 Mighty, 46 Piercing, 48 Precise Strikes. 56 Ironclad, 64 Resistant. This also gives us the Reinforced passive. This is not huge, but it's helpful nonetheless. 43 Hardy, 43 Elemental Defender, 34 Thick Skinned. Unchained is very important. Putting our remaining points, 27 into Quick Recovery, 3 into Expert Defender. And that's the CP. Now I'll swap gear and I'll just show you a slightly different setup to use for no CP PvP and Battlegrounds. This works very well in CP Cyrodiil. But in no CP, I like to swap things up slightly. Okay, just like my last video, I've come into the no CP Imperial City Sewers just to demonstrate the no CP build. So the change is that we've taken off Truth and we are now running Sunderflame in its place. Everything else is exactly the same. Sunderflame has got the exact same 2, 3, 4 piece bonuses as Truth. Weapon Crate, Max Stamina, Weapon Damage, just in a slightly different order. The 5 piece, when you deal damage with a fully charged heavy attack, you deal 4.4k flame damage, and you apply Minor Breach and Fracture to the enemy for 8 seconds. This is very, very powerful because it's essentially a proc set that also helps us with our penetration, and it plays right into the heavy attack that we do as part of our burst combo. So the Thunderflame goes onto the same place as the Armor of Truth was before. We end up running 6 medium, 1 heavy, which helps with our sustain slightly. And again, we've got the New Moon Acolyte Mace on the front bar with a Sunderflame one-hander. This doesn't really matter. Axe is pretty strong in no CP. The bleed's fairly powerful off this. Instead of going infused, however, it's nice to have a slightly larger stamina pool when you're playing in no CP. So we've actually got max stamina on all these pieces. We've got 1 weapon damage and 2 stamina recovery. Now, let me just demonstrate on one of these Horkers. I won't buff up because I'm afraid I'll kill them too quickly, but see all those numbers? You get a really nice proc with your Sunderflame whenever you do that heavy attack. And that's a lot of burst. It's very hard for people to recover from that if they don't see you coming. And even if they do see you coming, you know, you can keep up offensive pressure without expending any stamina just by doing, you know, sub-assault, heavy attack, keeping up your buffs. Now, I'm going to address this just because people probably will ask why I'm not running the Black Rose dual wield. Black Rose dual wield is undoubtedly very, very powerful, but I'm not a big fan. I think it supports a type of playstyle that doesn't really work too well in open world group PvP, like the majority of us find ourselves doing in Cyrodiil. It's very, very strong if you want to, you know, kite around some rocks and try and pull a bunch of players behind you, try and split them up, get some 1vx, 1v1 clips or whatever. But in general, it's, you know, it's easy mode, to be honest. And anyway, it's getting changed next patch as well, so you might as well get used to not running Blade Cloak for the major protection, because it's going to be doing something different next patch anyway. Anyway, hopefully this build video was useful. I had a few comments asking what I was running on my BG matches. I'm going to try and update this build for Greymoor when that releases, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, thanks for watching, take care, I'll see you guys next time.